Education, fall education is a big time here at Seaside. September kicks off all of our classes, and the catalog will be coming out in the next week or so. But I invite you to visit the education table in the family room and take a look at what classes are coming up so you can get your name on the list. Also, choir is kicking up for the holidays already. Can you believe it? So September the 11th is time to come on out and meet with the choir members and see if you want to be part of that. Meet with Reverend Fran and try your voice out and become part of our Seaside Choir. They're a wonderful ministry here that is just growing and growing and growing. Reverend Fran also is the leader for our Cancer Thrivers group, and I want to let you know that that is meeting this Saturday at 10:30 in the Emerson room. So if that's something that calls to you, please come and be part of that. Friday evening here at Seaside, we're having a Relax with Rumi event. So it is a wonderful event. It's just a $10 love donation to come on in. They're going to be doing relaxation and meditation and music and the poetry of Rumi, as well as for an extra $15, if you feel like you want to come and eat, there will be Persian food. So come and be part of that. All the proceeds go to an orphanage in Nepal. So that is a fundraiser for that orphanage. Our usher and greeter team is looking for support, looking for people that want to come and be part of. It's a wonderful way to get your foot in the door at Seaside and become part of that spiritual community and get to know people and hugs on Sundays. So Keith Russell is in the back there in the Hawaiian shirt. See Keith if you're interested in joining up with that team. Also, last but not least, I want to remind you that we do have Reverend Sunshine Day here on Wednesday night doing the Wednesday Revealing Service, which is a beautiful, beautiful service. So with all of that in mind and this wonderful spiritual family of Seaside, I ask you to please stand and greet your neighbor, and please remain standing for the congregational song.
Please remain standing for our congregational song this morning. We're singing together, We Let It Be.
We let it be.
We let it be.
Ah! In a reggae style. That's right. Yo man, get your hands in the air. Come on now. Spiritual aerobics right here. We let the love wash over us. We let the love, we let the love wash over us. We let it be. We let the joy,
we let the joy wash over us.
We let it be. We let the joy. How about some more joy?
We let the joy wash over us. We let it be.
All right, Bob. Bob's going to show us some joy. Wash over us. We let it be. We let the peace. We let the peace
wash over
us. We let it be. I'm going to add a piece right now. Hold on. Bring it down, Bam. I'm going to let the rain wash over us. Don't you think we need some rain? Come on. In Northern California, come on. Eastern California, we let the rain wash over us today. Are you ready? I'm ready. 1, 2, 3. We let the rain wash over us. We let
Good morning, Seaside. I'm Reverend Catherine Economo, and it's my joy to welcome you here this morning to Seaside. Here at Seaside Center for Spiritual Living, we are a spiritual nexus, inspiring people to live their divinity. And so what that means is we know the truth of who you are. We know that you are the divine spark made manifest, living this life, expressing who you are, and you've come to share this gift unto the world. And so we know that. We celebrate that, and we honor that, and we honor the fact that you've joined us here today. Here at Seaside, we're a spiritual community, which means that we're a spiritual family. And we come together in these amazing times to celebrate the joys of our lives. And here at Seaside, we create a safe, sacred space when we hit those challenges and those bumps. And so I hope, my best hope for you is that you find your place within this community and realize that we are here for you, to support you. And I'll tell you, you have made a really great choice today to join us for this morning. We have a wonderful speaker, the spiritual leader of the Centers for Spiritual Living. Reverend Dr Ken Gordon is with us speaking this morning. And we've got Andrew Pettit singing. So there is no way that this roof will not be on by the end of the service. And the sun is already shining. I don't care if it's going to rain or not. It's going to be a beautiful day here. And we have Reverend Fran back. We missed you, Reverend Fran. We're glad you're back. Glad you had a rest, but we're glad you're here. And so to begin, as we begin all things, we will begin with prayer. And so I'll invite our practitioner, David Kennedy, to invite us into the stillness.
Please join me in a moment of stillness. And I know within this stillness that God's Spirit is flowing in, around, and through me, in, around, and through everyone here today. I am truly blessed. And I'm also blessed to be able to express my appreciation to Reverend Economo, knowing that her words are God's words. And also Reverend Fran with her wonderful musicians. And I know their music is truly blessed. And as their music washes over us, we are all blessed. And I let it be, and so it is.
Así será, oh, y para siempre será. Venimos a vivir, venimos para amar, así continuaremos, así será. Así será, oh, 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 y para siempre será. Venimos a vivir, venimos para amar, y así continuaremos. So it is, and forever it We come to live, we come to give, we come to love, and yes, we shall continue, and so it is. Venimos a vivir, venimos para amar, y así continuaremos. Así será, and so it is. Así será.
Thank you, that was beautiful. And so here we are at the end of the summer, paused here, and ready to begin our fall. And so because I'm the Director of Education and because they gave me the mic, I get to remind you that our Science of Mind classes are starting in a couple of weeks. And if you haven't been part of the Foundations class, I'm going to strongly, strongly suggest that you step forth and spend some time with Dr. Christian in that. And then if you have taken the Foundations class, I'm going to suggest that you come and spend some time with me in the Essential Earnest class, the Essential Earnest Homes, which is a wonderful, another wonderful deepening in this philosophy. The philosophy of the Science of Mind is a pathway to freedom. And it's an opening to understanding and learning about who you really are in our relationship, not only to the universe, but to God itself. And so when you step forth and open to the possibilities of your life, a class is a really great way to do that. And also just being together in community is also. And so at this point, I'd like to welcome anyone who's been here for the first time, who's joining us for the first time. If you're here, we're so grateful that you've decided to come and spend some time with us this morning. And I want to mention that we have a welcome packet for you. And so I'll invite you after service to visit the welcome table in the family room and get a welcome packet. Within it, there's a lot of information about who we are and what happens here and what we believe. And there's also a certificate for the bookstore for one of Dr. Christian's books. And so I encourage you to say hello, and we're so grateful you're here. And so we are in for a big treat with Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon today. He's got a wonderful talk entitled The Path. And our spiritual reading comes from Dr. Christian's book, The Joyous Living Journal. We've all been on the same page every day this year as we've been walking through. And today, our reading is entitled Societal Impressions. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "Imitation is suicide." And so I'll invite you to just close your eyes and take a breath and open to these words. It's easy to get caught up in self-evaluation of images you see outside of yourself. Do I match up to these societal impressions or not? Am I as good or am I less than? Your higher self is calling to you to wake up to who you truly are. Use this lifetime to bring forth the gifts of your spirit. Embrace the invitation for joyous living by being true to yourself and letting go of the comparisons. How will you spend this particular lifespan? Where are you going to be focusing your attention? On others or on expressing who you are and what you are to do? Your ancestors gave a lot in order for you to come into this world. Are you honoring their legacy by being your true self? And so deepening into this moment, realizing there is only the true self, that infinite divine presence of God. Breathing into the center and knowing that there is no boundary, there is only this endless essence, this divine spirit, this one life, this life of God, in its fullness, in its magnificence, in its wholeness, in its truth. This truth is the truth of each of us. It is my truth. We come together in this moment, in this unity of being, to allow this truth to be revealed in its fullness, in its wholeness, in its power, and its presence. For this truly is a day of light. And so I know that each of us is that divine expression of God's love, that we open as channels of the divine love unto the world. And as we move about our days, we simply share this gift, transforming the lives of everyone we come in contact with. We simply are points of light, revealing the essence and the presence of the divine life. And so I know on this day that this truly is the day of light, that this is a day of joy and of celebration, of remembering the truth of who we are, of expressing that divine essence and presence, and revealing deeper and deeper that amazing gift that we are connected, all of us, in that essence of life itself. And so with a grateful heart, I bless it. I celebrate it and I surrender my word, knowing all is well here, for God is here. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning, everybody. How are you? I'm fine, and Carl's fine. We celebrated 3 big numbers this year and this month. First one was 65. That's what I turned just recently. Yeah. Yes, I know. It's hard to believe, isn't it? And then we celebrated 30 years of being married, which we re-upped, by the way. We want you to know that on our way. And then Carl shot an 81 at Pebble Beach. So we're so excited. 3 big numbers this year. I love this lady's laugh. I love you. Can I? Let's record that laugh and put it as a track just in case we need it later. Okay. In the meantime, do we have somebody that I truly, truly love? Andrew, I had a gift package ready for you because he's going back to school. Now, did you make that transfer to UCLA? Not yet. He's going to UCLA. I'm telling you, I love it. The Bruins, home of the Bruins. So anyway, my family went there. But I have to tell you, Andrew has this wonderful gift of vocal prowess. He is fabulous. He drives down from Pasadena, and as Carl and I were driving up to Monterey, we went, do you know it takes him like 2.5 hours to get down here? So to be here at 8 o'clock rehearsal, I just give him awards for that, first of all. And then second of all, he can really sing. And 3 of all, he brings his entourage with him. And so we love him very much. We're going to see him again in December singing some beautiful Christmas music. Yes, Christmas is coming. So would you please put your hands together for our beloved son and entertainer and guest artist this morning, Mr. Andrew Pettit.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. It's always a blessing to be back before you all. I hope this first song just blesses you. 1, 2, 3. What you got if you ain't got love? The kind that you just wanna give away. It's okay to open up. Go ahead and let your light shine through. It's so hard on a rainy day. You wanna shut the whole world of left, be left alone, but don't run out on your faith. Sometimes that mountain you've been climbing is just a grain of sand. What have you been out there searching for forever is in your hands. Oh, but when you figure out love is all that matters after all, it sure makes everything else seem so small. It's so easy to get lost inside a problem that seems so big. At the time, it's like a river that's so swallows you whole. While you're sitting around thinking about what you can't change and worrying about all the wrong things. Time moving fast, moving so slow. You better get it back, 'cause you can't get it back. Sometimes that mountain you've been climbing is just a grain of sand. Oh, what have you been out there searching for forever is in your hand. Oh, but when you figure out love is all that matters after all, it sure makes everything else, oh yeah, seem so small. Yeah, 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 yeah. Sometimes that mountain you've been climbing is just a grain of sand. What have you been out there searching forever is in your hand. Oh, but when you figure out love is all that matters after all, it sure makes everything else. Oh, it sure makes everything else seem so small. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Andrew. That was great. And so it's my honor to introduce Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon to you. I wanted you to know a little bit more about him before I surrender the stage to him. Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon is currently the spiritual leader of all of Centers for Spiritual Living. He's the first spiritual leader of our new organization. He's well known for his extraordinary vision and leadership and is considered to be a catalyst for evolution and change in every area of human development. Previously the senior co-pastor with his beautiful wife, Reverend Dr. Deborah Gordon of the Center for Spiritual Living, Kelowna in Canada, Dr. Ken's career has included everything from the corporate to the creative, from being president and general manager of a large and innovative restaurant conglomerate in the early 70s and 80s, to being an independent consultant, writing and implementing restaurant training and operation manuals for several major organizations. In the early 1980s, he moved to Southern California from his home in Canada to embark on another successful venture. With his educational background in political science and philosophy, it was natural for him to discover and begin pursuing religious science with Dr. Tom Costa at the then Religious Science Church of the Desert. In 1993, he and his partner of 39 years returned to their original home in Kelowna, British Columbia, and began their own spiritual community, the Kelowna Center for Spiritual Living, which has grown to become one of Canada's leading New Thought organizations. Over the years, Dr. Ken has focused his attention on innovative and transparent models of leadership, joining the board of directors of Religious Science International in 1999. He served as president of that organization for 5 years, and he was instrumental in every step of its transformation progress. He moves through life with 3 major ideals in mind: inclusivity, communication, and principle. Also, I wanted to add that Dr. Ken was instrumental in our integration process over the last couple of years. Whenever we would hit a moment where things started to get shaky in the integration, we would look at Dr. Ken and everything would calm down. He has a really calming, powerful, calm presence. A well-known and well-loved speaker and teacher with a unique, humorous, and insightful style, Dr. Ken is a strong believer in spending yourself and giving back to life. And what I really want you to know about Dr. Ken is that he's a man of vision, and I'm excited for him to share that vision with you today. It's powerful, and it just pulls us all into it. And so with honor and love, I'd like to introduce Dr. Ken Gordon.
Thank you, Catherine. You got my mic. Good job. Well, good morning. Good morning. I wrote that, by the way, in case you're wondering. So, what can I say? It missed a few things, but I'll add that to the next half-an-hour diatribe I put out. I want to thank, first thing I want to do is tell you how honored I am to be here. I really am. The Seaside is a milestone church. I don't know whether or not you're aware of that. I think you probably are. But Dr. Christian and his staff and you as his congregants and the laity and the practitioners have done such a spectacular job on developing this work. So please know that you're recognized and that this is a precious ministry for us. We realize the depth and the power and the value of it. And we also celebrate the great work that's been done here over the years. 25 years coming next month. I'm impressed. We're celebrating in Kelowna our 20th at the same time, and so let me tell you right up front, congratulations on 25 years. I'm sure the next 5 are going to be easier than the last 20 at our place, so that's all I can share, but it's great. I'm here. I've been traveling around a lot, around the world and around North America, and I've spoken an awful lot. And what I'm basically talking about is I'm talking about something that's happening in our world right now, which seems to be synchronistic and seems to be occurring for everybody. And that is the change and the transformation that's happening in the world as we see it. What we're recognizing is that some of the old bastions of traditional thought are beginning to kind of disintegrate and fall away, although we're doing a very good job of trying to sustain them and build them back up again. But eventually they too shall shift and move. You know, I know for a fact, having been involved in so many different things that were transformational within the religious science movement, I know how hard it is to transform that culture and to change the consciousness behind what goes on. And I can only imagine the work that the politicians in the United States and Canada and Europe and the rest of the world have in being able to bring forward and make that happen for 7.5 billion of us on this planet. To be able to break open that changeling within us that knows it's time to evolve and knows it's time to move on and to move to a higher and a greater vision than one that we've had in the past. We more or less have hung on to our traditional way that we've been for the last, couple 300 years since the last transformation that we had, which was really minimal at that time anyway. But we're stepping into an area right now of expansion and growth in consciousness and an understanding and an appreciation of how this world can be a different place if we apply ourselves in that way. And we know from this teaching that that begins within us, that we as human beings and as individuals and part of the one must first begin to transform and change our own being in order to expect or in order to be able to witness and to be able to perceive that in the outside world, to watch it come forward. And what my discovery has been, for myself at least, is that I can talk a good story, but I don't necessarily walk it all the time. You know, I have a wonderful ability to be able to see the vision and structure the vision. I have a great way of being able to see what's a possibility or a potential. And I have a tremendous ability of being able to tell other people how they can change so that they can change the world. And inherently within myself, though, it's that practice that I have to utilize and that I have to do and that I have to apply in order to be able to move forward in what I'm doing and how we're doing it. And it's that recognition and that realization that really brings me out as the leadership of the spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, or whatever it is. And the thing is that it becomes important for me to know and understand my own being and my own self and how to do it. And when I watch it, when I contemplate what goes on in my experience, what I find is that there are many times that I fall by the wayside, that I fall away from what I'm intending to do and fall away from what my thoughts and my ideals are. And as a matter of fact, to be quite honest, I probably am off the base more than I'm on it. But what I'm doing is I'm remembering now how to get back onto it quicker. So that instead of going over here for a decade and being lost, what I'm doing is I'm actually finding my spot within a couple hours, sometimes a couple days, a couple weeks, and depending on what the issue is, maybe a couple months. But I'm no longer lost for decades or years, finding my way back to the pathway, finding my way back to where I came from, to whence I was born, and for the purpose of my being. And I know that that's true for us as individuals as well. So instead of coming and inciting somebody to say, we're going to change the world, we're going to transform the world, which we are, through our applications, what I'm doing is I'm reminding people that when they are authentic and actualized, when they are really operating out of the truth of who they are, that the end result out of that experience is they're in the perfect place at the perfect time. We look at the world around us, and every one of us knows through basic biology that everything that's been created on this planet and everything that's been created on this plane has been created for a purpose. From the mosquito to the moose, to the elephant, everything that's created is part of that cycle and that circle of life and perfection. And we've been raised in a tradition with a consciousness as a society that basically states something along these lines, which is that everything is perfect, whole, and complete on the outside and has its place in the world except us. Us as individuals, us as a race sometimes. And what we have to do is we have to step forward and realize that we're part of what's going on in the world around us. And that when we fall back into that place to play that part in our perfection, when we actually fit into the mosaic that we were born to do by being the real people that we are, when we follow that pathway, what will happen is that we will come together in that mosaic to create the perfection of that which we have as a vision, which is an awakened humanity for the purpose of creating a world that works for all. And that's what's required of us. In 2009, when I spoke at the World Parliament of Religions, I was given the job of talking about the sustaining of food and water in the world around us. And when I did that, I did my work on it, and I found myself in a situation, and because it was in 2009, a lot of things were shifting and happening at that particular time. And I can remember standing up and speaking, and I remember going through the thought behind it and realizing I'd been a farmer in Southern California for 12 years. I farmed just south of Indio, California, and I developed and grew hay for a retail hay business, but I did just about every other kind of farming you can imagine as well. And one of the things that I did in the early stages was I thought I would grow some vegetables. So what I did was I planted 10 acres of onions in a field. And in a 3-month period of time, what I did was I yielded out of that field 10,100 pound sacks, so 1 million pounds of onions on a 10-acre field in 3 months. That's a lot of onions. I wish I could have sold them all, but it was a lot of onions. And so, you know, I created that, and I saw that work, and I saw how it worked. And then I remember watching these large corporate farmers here in the U.S., in southern U.S., the breadbasket of North America. And I watched them grow. They'd have a 640-acre field of produce. And they would create and they would do it. And what would happen and what would occur for them is that they found themselves in a situation where they would take a look at the price just before they harvested it. They would bring it right up to the place where it was ready to be harvested, whatever crop it was. And then they would check the price. And when they checked the price, if they discovered that the price was lower than what their break-even was, what they would do is they would send in 6 bottom plows and they would plow the whole thing under, rather than harvest it and rather than pick it. And the reason was quite obvious, because they needed to make the money out of it, and if they'd harvested it, they would have lost more than they had already invested there. And this is a regular thing that happens when the market's a little bit out of kilter in certain areas. And so I remember talking to them, because quite a few of them were my friends, and I remember saying to them, you know, why don't you just give that produce away to the poor? And they said, we can't do that. If we were to give it away to the poor, what would happen is we would skew the market to a place where we couldn't possibly grow it again, and pretty soon there'd be no farming, because it couldn't generate the income that was necessary. So I said, well, then instead of giving it in North America, why don't we just pack it all up and ship it to Africa or to the third world, to people who need it and require it, who are starving even as we speak in certain areas of the world. And they said, you know, there isn't enough money to be able to do that. They said, you know, there isn't enough ships, there is no way for us to be able to do that and put it out there. And so here I found myself in a situation where I was living in a world where I knew that we could produce everything that was required to end hunger. And by the way, this works with water if you look at it, with desalinization plants and things that you can do as well. But I looked at it and I thought, you know, here we are. We have the technology to be able to create everything that is required so that people no longer have to have hunger in the world. We have the technology to be able to educate people. And as they educate, they provide more for the world, and that's available for us. We have the technology to cure diseases, but we don't share it for the same reason. And the reason always is money, money, money. And so, you know, I looked at it and I saw what was going on there. And so when I was at the World Parliament, I told that story, and then I said, because it was 2009, I really believed that. And so I bent my mind around that idea that the problem with sustaining of food and water, and for that matter technology, for that matter education, for that matter medical care, that the problem in the world today is that there isn't enough money to be able to create and do that. And then 2008 happened, and I saw $3 trillion go into an economy to shore up a disintegrating means and way of that we're living our lives. And $3 trillion, I did the math on my phone, because I wouldn't do it in my mind, and I calculated it out. And $3 trillion is enough money that we could bring all 7.5 billion people on this planet here to San Diego for a week and have them attend this service here. And including their food, their hotel, their travel, everything. That's how much money that is. So I began to understand that the problem isn't that we don't produce enough food, that we don't have the technology, that we don't have the ability. The problem, apparently, is money. But the problem isn't money. The problem is the willingness to do it. The intention and the ideal to be able to step out of the consciousness that we hold on to, that is archaic, that comes from the past, that served us then, but to be able to step into the new idea. And to do that, what happens is everything else has to change with us. And we have to have a different means and a different way that we serve the world. And the reason that we don't do it is because we are, in a lot of ways, lazy, but we're also fearful that if we do this, what will happen is we will give up the lifestyle and what we have, which when you look at it and we look at what the actual statistics say, is that our lifestyle would be improved if we could do that. You no longer would have war. You no longer would have the need for violence. What you could do is you could actually begin to awaken humanity to a realization that life could be different than the one that we're living right now. And everything's available for us to create it and bring it into the being and bring it into our own lives as we have it, except the willingness to be able to step forward and do it. I spent part of yesterday with Marianne Williamson, and she was talking on a subject. She was saying that she was talking about the miracle of birth. She was saying how miraculous it is that you can have a sperm enter an egg and create a human being or a life form. She was talking about how marvelous it is to have an acorn, and we know within the acorn exists everything that's necessary to create a forest of oak trees. And the requirement, she said, in order for that to happen, is that every cell has to work in unison and has to work to the truth of its own being to create the form. That what occurs, okay, when a child is born or through the gestation period, nobody knows exactly how it happens, but what happens is the cells begin to multiply. And each cell has to do the perfect job. And each cell has to be perfect unto itself to create what is required to end up having you and I sitting here and the children in the Sunday school and the children in the world. that it works in perfection. And that when a cell doesn't do its perfect job, there's a name for it. It's called a cancer. And that what happens is that cell begins to operate on its own, outside of itself, and it creates something which grows and develops and has its being that is not in reality according to the plan that's laid out there. And the aberration is that it is not doing what it was born to do. It is not being what it was born to be. It is not creating what it was born to create. And so we find ourselves in the circumstances, our society, if we look at the micro, macro of life, that to a large degree, the biggest problem that we have in the world today is that we are not doing what we were meant to do. We are not born to be what we think we are. We are born to be greater and to be larger. And so we move into this pathway of life, of authenticity and actualization. And when we live from that particular place, what will happen is that the world will become something that is usable and good for all, not just for our little game that we play, that we fight back and forth. And as spiritual leader of Centers for Spiritual Living, I find it's the same thing. That's the idea that I've tried to implement into this organization to say, do you know what? It doesn't matter whether or not it's about an organization. It doesn't matter about sustaining the organization. It matters that we awaken humanity to its spiritual magnificence so that we may create a world that works for all. So we're moving into places in our life right now and in the way that we're doing it, where we're making affiliation agreements with people that up until now we would have never dreamt of doing it. We just signed an affiliation agreement with the Fellowship for Affirming Ministries, which is a Pentecostal evangelical organization. And we came together and we sat down, and what we talked about was what we want to have happen in the world as opposed to what our differences are. We put aside the fear, we put aside the feeling of less than, we put aside our issues of self-esteem, and I'm talking about both organizations, and instead say the important thing is to create a world that works for everyone. That's the vision. So we lay that vision out in front of us, we put it before us like a light, and we head towards that light. And as a micro, macro, again, you have a personal vision in your life, I'm certain. And if you do not, I would recommend you take one of the classes that Reverend Catherine talks about, because what we will do is develop a vision for your life and get that centered feeling of what you were really created in order to be able to bring into being. And then find yourself in the situation where you can follow that vision to a higher degree than you've ever followed anything else. I lay my vision out in front of me every single day, and I repeat from the beginning of my sharing here today, I am never or rarely on beam with the vision, but I am always crossing back and forth in it so that I can head in the direction of the creation of it. And I quit getting the little stuff. Reverend Catherine said that I had this balanced place. If you knew the turmoil inside of me, you would not agree with that. However, in times of trial, I would go back to the vision. I would go back to the vision if I was in conflict with someone, and I would say, what's more important for me? To have the conflict or to create a world that works for all? And it becomes so obvious when you maintain the vision in your life, and you put it as a priority, and you own it, and you understand it, and you embrace it, and you lay it out there. And all of a sudden what happens is you recall and you remember that you no longer can sidetrack yourself, because you're not going to create what it is that you need to create in the world and the purpose and the reason why you were born to be here in your perfection in the first place. And so what occurs for us is I no longer allow the minutiae, I no longer allow the pettiness, and believe me, most of it is. Nothing serious, everything sacred, somebody once said. And instead, just to head there. So that when I run into conflict, when I run into my own self-deficiency that I see within myself, instead of going to the place of fear and defense or offense, instead what I can do is I can go to the place of centered, balanced correctness, because I remember something. And what I remember is that I was born to create something. And what I want you to remember is that you were born to create something. And it doesn't have to be the same thing, but to be grounded in that idea and that ideal and no longer allow that which occurs in the world around us to distract us from that vision and that ideal. And as a teaching, as a movement, which I personally believe that Science of Mind is the greatest teaching on this planet at this particular time, when I find a better one, I will start doing that, I promise you. But the thing is, right now, it is my vehicle and our vehicle to be able to declare and move someplace powerful in our world. And everyone who has found it, whether or not it be Hindu or Christian, however it looks, they have found that vehicle for themselves, that which resonates with them, and to be able to move for the higher ideal behind it instead of the lower, traditional, relative idea of the fear that encompasses us. And so we find ourselves in a situation, in a circumstance of our lives where we know we can create and bring into being that which we want to create and bring into being if we only keep steadfast in our direction, with an indomitable will and not let go of it. So I travel around the world and I ask people, will you participate in this? Will you step forward and do this? Will you become authentic for the purpose of creating a world that works for everyone? Because it's for the benefit to do it. It's not selfish. What it is it's required. It's part of the parcel that we need to put together in order to make the progress that we want to make. And believe me, we can create it. All we need is a collective consciousness, which isn't that many. And that's what's happening. That's the realization that we've had, is that no matter what the name of the organization is, no matter what the history of the organization is, the requirement for us at this particular time is to motivate and go towards the vision. And we can discard and let go of our petty differences and the things that are not the same. And instead, what we can do is we can trudge forward with a realization and an understanding that we are garnering and gathering to us, attracting into our lives the collective consciousness to be able to change the world and transform the world. Because it will not take much to have that happen. It will not take much to have that occur. We're on the verge right now of this huge zeitgeist in mind that's saying no matter what political affiliation you have, what background you have, we're saying it's time for something different to happen. We feel it, we sense it in our bones, we know, we resonate with it, and then if you're like me, I'll speak totally for myself, knowing and recognizing that I'm speaking to great avatars, but speaking for myself is that instead of stepping back and continuing to step back from that ideal, step into it and step forward no matter how frightening it is, no matter how scary it is, no matter how I can measure, oh gosh, I can't do that because I might lose this. Instead, realize and going back to that faith within our being that says that everything's for good and that this is an evolutionary cycle that is taking us, reaching us, stretching us, pulling us to that ideal, that understanding, and that appreciation. And it requires us to be what? It requires us to be ourselves, to be authentic and be true, and to not allow the metote of life, the fog of life, to stand between us and the realization of the power that we have. It's oxymoronic for me that we're in a teaching that teaches you're perfect, whole, and complete, and that you're a gift to the world, and that you have a value and you have a light, and people run away from it instead of embracing it. And yet we find ourselves in that situation all the time, and what we need to do is we need to start living out of it and acting on it and being personally disciplined to be able to bring it into being and bring it into creation in the world around us. And we can do it. We can do it. It's possible. The collective consciousness is shifting, and what we're doing is pushing and aiding and helping it move forward every inch of the way. And we do that by being authentic and by following the pathway of our own life and our own lives. So I ask you, are you willing to support that ideal? Are you willing to support that vision? Is that something that resonates with you? So I'm asking you, are you prepared to be authentic and actualized and step into your own life and to not allow the trivialities and the discussions and the arguments to prevent you from going where it is that you were born to be? To be able to lay in front of you that vision and that ideal to such a degree that no longer does this affect you or disaffect you. No longer do you allow the outside world to be able to pervert your ideal, your idea, and your thought. No longer do you surrender the greatest idea on the plane of this planet in turn for the satisfaction of being able to be angry, the satisfaction of being able to be fearful, the satisfaction of being able to be protective, the satisfaction of being able to be defensive. Instead, when somebody says something and you resonate and your anger comes up and your ire comes up, turn towards the vision. Head towards the ideal. And allow that to fall by the wayside, because believe me, it will. And when we do that as a movement, not as an organization, when we do that as a movement, the world will be changed. And I will thank you, and I thank you now and bless you.
I was like standing there like, oh, I'm next. A total eclipse has just begun. We blocked out the sun. Can't believe this is what we've come to. So you think that you're a star, but the real star has some scars on his hands and feet where the nails went through. God is headlining this show. To introduce him is what I'm here for. So without further delay, it's time to take to the stage, and I'll move out the way so they only see you that's inside of me. Don't let me block the view, that's not what I wanna do. I gotta be see-through, make sure they see you, make me invisible. The crowd applauds and now you're on. They start to play your song, but did he even come along? Or did he get left behind the day that you decided that you would outshine his light? God is headlining this show. To introduce him is what I'm here for. So without further delay, it's time to take to the stage. When I move out the way, so they only see you that's inside of me. Don't let me block the view, that's not what I want to do. I gotta be see-through, make sure they see you, make me invisible. I move out the way, so they only see you that's inside of me. So let me block the view, that's not what I want to do. I gotta be see-through, make sure they see you, make me invisible. Make me invisible. Make me invisible.
that is Andrew Pettit. Andrew, you've got CDs, right? All right, visit his table after the service and take a little bit of Andrew home. And so this is the time of our service when we have the opportunity to share our gift. So I'll invite our ushers to come forward. And I'll invite you to take your gift today, and let's put it on our hearts again. I like doing this. Let's put our gift on our heart. Simply come together in the joy of this moment, infusing our love and our presence in this individual gift unto the world that we are, into this gift unto this world at this time, knowing that this offering goes to bless and to support this divine idea of the movement of love and power and presence into the world. Through this spiritual community, out into this community, into this world, those ripples continue to move. And so I know that each of us participates in this flow, in this divine essence and presence that easily and effortlessly moves forth unto the world, that serves and supports us as we give, as we receive, as we allow, as we connect with this divine life. And so I bless this, I give thanks for it, and simply allow it to be, and so it is. So please join me as we say our affirmation of giving. Spirit continues to bless my world. Gratefully I live as the giving expression of Spirit, opening the floodgates of the affluent flow of greater good as my life now. So how grateful we are as we bless this offering, knowing that it goes and serves and supports and multiplies as it moves forth through our ministries and all that it brings forth unto the world. And so with a grateful heart, we accept it, we bless it, and allow it to be. And so it is. Thank you. Thank you. All right, well, thank you, Reverend Dr. Ken Gordon. Thank you for joining us today. I told you, right? Didn't I tell you? I told you, powerful, powerful. Thank you for sharing your vision with us. And for Andrew Pettit, we love you. Reverend Fran, thank you for coming back. Thank you for coming back. Thank you for your support and your beauty today. And the guys in the band, you guys rock. Thank you so much for serving and supporting us. We've got Marv on visuals. And Matthew, thank you on sound. And Tim Griffin on our live streaming for second service. Thank you so much. Right, so there's so much going on here at Seaside. We're in the pause moment before our fall gets underway, and that's going to happen next week when Dr. Christian returns, and we have Jamie Lula with the Jamie Lula concert. What a great way to celebrate our Labor Day weekend, so please come back and join us for that. I also wanted to make a quick note that that you should visit the ladies at the table for the 25th anniversary. Today is actually the last day. If you'd like to put an ad in our commemorative book, what a wonderful way to give your love and your support to Seaside and give a lasting message in the book. And so please visit them at the table. And also today is our wall of prayer. So I'm going to invite all of our practitioners to stand up and come forward and make a line here. And just let you know that at the last Sunday of the month, we want each person to have an experience of a one-on-one prayer. And so what's going to happen is I'm going to invite Dr. Ken to do our treatment here today. And then we'll sing out, and the practitioners will be here so that you could come and get an individualized prayer here for you today. And so the truth is, we never want you to leave here with something on your heart. If there's something going on in your life, we want you to know that these practitioners are here for you. They're always available after service for individual treatments on Sundays. And just so you know, we keep the congregation in prayer daily. And so you might not realize that, but you're being prayed for every day. But on this day, we want you to have a one-on-one experience with them. And so after service, please come forth. And so with that, I'm going to invite Dr. Ken to come and pray us out.
Thank you. And thank you all, you practitioners. What a wonderful service you give to the world. So I would just have us breathe into this particular moment, recognizing and acknowledging that there is God and absolutely nothing else. And I personally unify myself with this power right now and recognize and know that we are all unified with it. That there is a perfection that is unfolding and showing up in our lives and our experience that is born and blessed through who we are truly. I therefore request, know, and understand and appreciate that power, that higher power, that greater power that operates within each one of us right here and right now draws forward and attracts to it everything that is necessary and everything that is required in order to bring forward that light in our lives that we call our vision. It lays before us in absolute sublime beauty. And it is the light that attracts us and takes us to it unconditionally, without stop and without block. We lay before us the beauty of this world and the beauty of this life. And we know with certainty that it must become manifest as we keep our intention and our energy focused upon it. And that power that is the greatness and goodness of who we are operates and dissolves and dissipates anything that stands in its way and anything that blocks it from its creativity and its creation. Therefore, we move forward from this moment forward in this ideal and this idea with something new that's birthed within us. Our lives have been changed at depth. And we move forward energetically, lovingly, openly, compassionately to a direction to our own self, our own true being, our own authenticity, our own actualization. Spirit draws us to it in its perfection. Giving thanks that this is so, I simply surrender it back into that mind, which is all mind, your mind, my mind. And I live from it knowing that it is my truth. I let go and I let God, and so it is.
There was a time in my life I thought I had to do it all for myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I did not know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged and trying to make it through just one more day, you got to let it go, let it all go. And this is what we have to say. Come on, I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. You know there's no more struggle, no more. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. You know that I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. You know there's no
affirmation for the week. I keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve. Together, I keep fresh before me the moments of my high resolve, in our song of grace.
I'm living in love, I'm living in peace, I'm living my life for what I believe, through joys and through fears, in this world I walk, God's grace shines on me, well it shines on us all, we are living in grace, we are living in grace, we are living in grace, we're living in love, we're living in peace, united we stand as one family, we honor all truth as together we walk, God's grace moves through me, well it moves through us all, we are living in grace, we are living in grace, we are living in grace, we are living